Okay, hey everybody, it's good to see you all. We'll go ahead and get started. Starting with housekeeping and events, the big update is obviously that we released 3001 sodium yesterday. It went out within, I think, about an hour of the time that we said it was scheduled to. I've seen some comments and stuff as well since it's been posted. Thank you for all that feedback. And then shortly after that, Max Arnold did post a What's New in Salt blog post. So that is out. I posted it in the announcements channel on Slack, but it's got a lot of really good information. Thank you so much for doing that write-up. Oh, somebody else is messaging me. Sorry about that. But they cannot get in. We went 2 weeks without any open hour problems. With Twitch or Zoom, and now it's acting up again, so that's fun.
Darn it, Murphy.
Right? All right, let's try this again. So sodium.
Why am I getting blamed? I'm just sitting here typing away, doing nothing. Peace and quiet.
We rolled the dice and decided to blame you. I don't know.
Murphy's Law?
Yeah, yep. There you go. There you go. All right, let's try this again. Anyway, welcome everybody. Big update is that Sodium 3001 released yesterday, and I'm saying that Max Arnold actually published a really good blog post with a write-up of everything that is new in Sodium. Thank you so much for writing that. Please check it out. And we'll talk a little bit more about the release status here in a few minutes. I know last week I had said that I would reach out to the working group captains, and all but one of them responded to me with information about what the priorities are, what the working groups are going to look like moving forward. We are going to work on scheduling a PR jam tentatively the last week of July. We're still working on a lot of logistics about how that all looks. We may be running like a documentation jam and a few keynotes alongside it. So we have release planning next week and the following week, and during that release planning time, we'll be nailing down some of those logistics and running with that. And then I know Tom Hatch was talking about joining to clarify some of the questions around the Tiamat naming clarification. But if he doesn't join us, that's already on the agenda for next week, because I know there was some confusion about the naming of Salt Bin and Pop Build and Tiamat. So any other housekeeping items I missed from anybody? Oh, one more. Next Wednesday, we have a meetup happening. We have infrastructure as a code with item will be happening next week. So information on that is on the SaltStack community site, and I can drop that here in the chat. We will run the meetup through Zoom and may wind up streaming that on Twitch as well. All right, in that case, Sage? I don't see Sage. Does somebody else from the core team want to elaborate on kind of some highlights from the release then? Okay.
Not that I have any highlights, but I was just checking out the salt tips update about what's new in Sodium, and I have to say it's pretty darn fantastic.
Yeah, it's really thorough. I was looking it over a couple days ago. On my end, some things I do want to highlight. I think the biggest and most exciting thing for me personally, as this was the first release that I was here for the full release from beginning to end. I came on a few weeks into the last one. But for me, one of the things that was exciting was just seeing how much we grew as a community and the past release cycle. We went from 141 contributors in Neon to 204 in Sodium. We, of course, burned down a ton of stuff in that PR merge backlog. And then in addition to that, we saw an uptick in obviously event attendance numbers, saw a lot more conversation, a lot more people jumping in different places to answer each other's questions and collaborate. We added the Twitch stream with the testing clinics, and I know we've had some community members actually coming to those test clinics and asking for help with their tests. And we worked through a lot of kind of streamlining of communication. So we're at a point now where we have consistent communications for everybody. People aren't missing announcements. I got, somebody reached out yesterday to thank me that they had got the open hour agenda in their email on Tuesday morning so they could know what to expect during the open hour. And all that kind of feedback and the things that people say are working is not or not working, I keep track of all that stuff, and I'm making sure that we can address what we can, keep doing things that are working. I think a lot of the next focus in this next coming release will be on polishing some of the things we've implemented in the sodium release, and those are kind of the big things from my end. Sage, any other release highlights that you want to mention?
Sorry, I was late. Another meeting
That's right.
captured my attention. So yeah, I just reiterate everything that Cassandra said. I also want to point out that we also did 2 other releases during this release cycle, a bug fix release and 2 CV releases that we also patched all the way back far. And we did a ton of work there. That is not to go unrecognized and uncelebrated. That is a major accomplishment for this team, something that we've never done before. And I am proud to say that we did it and we accomplished it. So go team. And a lot of that work couldn't have been done without the help from the community and the support that we garner from this community. And so thank you all. Let's see, some other things that went in, some major contributions is the MSI installer for Windows. Of course, the switch over to PyCryptodomX and PyCryptodome. We did a ton of documentation fixes, major and minor, and then a lot of foundation work for some future releases. And the initial implementation of Town Crier, which I'm actually really excited about.
And just to add off of that, I mean, it goes without saying, we had a couple of major challenges that we faced throughout this release. We had COVID, and then on the heels of COVID, we had to adapt to the CVE. So I'm really grateful for how flexible and willing to help the community was and how we were all able to kind of pivot as things changed. Thank you so much for that. That's very much appreciated.
And some of the things that maybe didn't go into the release, maybe you said these, is like we also had a lot of work done in collaboration with Imran to get the bridge fixed on the community Slack. We also started a new working group with Imran and the formulas, and that's amazing. We had some major work happen in the current working groups that I think it needs to go recognized. There were some just major contributions there, along with some more collaboration with all the work that Tyler's been doing on ITEM and POP, and that's really exciting work, and we're excited to get the community involved in that.
Yep, and that whole group that helped with the salt miner bridge and kind of the CVE issues, the salt exploit website, all that stuff is great and has helped all of us quite a bit, so thank you for that. Anna, anything else anybody wants to add about this last release?
I was going to say too, like one of the big highlights from this one that'll help us in the long run going forward as we begin to just clean up a lot of code and fix a lot of problems is no longer supporting Python 2. Being purely like on Python 3 will be a big improvement going forward.
Okay. So in the past week, I've reached out to all the working group leaders, which actually started a bunch of good little side conversations, but basically wanted to run down as of now what each of the working groups is going to be focusing on for the coming release. So Cloud Working Group, Nick Hughes said that the thing that they're pushing for is just more involvement, more people to join the working group. And I think that was one recurring theme among several of these, is that we're looking for more participation in working groups. I know people are always looking for more ways to get involved, and working groups are one way to do that. In the coming weeks, I'm going to be writing something up about ways that people can get more involved in the community, as well as creating a resources page on the wiki that'll talk about involvement. But yeah, so Cloud is looking for people to join and help develop the next generation of cloud modules. Our documentation work group, led by Alan Culver, and Alyssa Rock is an awesome help with that as well. working on laying the groundwork to transition SALT docs over to the new theme and separate core docs out from the SALT project, not including module documentation and anything in doc strings. Is there anything you want to add to that, Alyssa?
I can really quickly preview what the theme would look like if people would like to see what the docs will eventually look like.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just share my screen really fast. Oh, I need to be a co-host or something like that. Screen sharing is disabled.
All right. Make co-host. There you go.
Okay. Let me see. There we go. All right. This is a new theme that we're gradually implementing for a lot of documentation sets across SaltStack. And there could be some changes that will happen to this theme before it gets implemented for OpenSalt, but it will look a lot like this, and upgrading to this theme will allow us to upgrade Sphinx, which is what the documentation is compiled with, and it gives us some really nice functionality that, let me just like show one of the things that I think will be really good for the SALT documentation, which is it gives you the ability to show how you would do different commands in different operating systems, and you can like tab between those, and that's kind of nice. That it makes the documentation a little bit cleaner and things like that. And there are just a bunch of other nice features that will come with this theme upgrade that will make our documentation just easier to work with, and that will just generally lower the barrier to entry when it comes to contributing to the docs. So that's why we're working on upgrading to that theme, and that will be a little while before we can get the OpenSalt docs to that theme, but that's one of the things we'll be working on.
Awesome, thank you. Formulas work group, I know when I reached out to Imran a couple days ago, he said there's nothing specific that they've got just yet. Is there anything that you'd like to add to that, Imran?
No, nothing specific. We've just got a lot of stuff going on in our Tiger board that we've set up. So we're just going to be working with that. To be honest, there's a lot going on in there.
Yeah, and y'all are meeting every other week. Both documentation and formulas are, so meeting more frequently than some of the other groups, which is certainly an option for any working group. Just let me know if you need that to happen. All right, Mac OS work group. Wesley Whetstone actually joined us to highlight some of what their priorities are. So go ahead, Wesley.
Hey, yeah. So if anybody is a Apple person at all, you know that WWDC is like a week away or something stupidly silly like that. And so usually with that comes a brand new Mac OS version. There's a lot of changes coming, and so we're doing our best to prepare for that. One of the things is we're working on like getting the Mac OS package that Salt puts up on the repo to have that like fully signed and notarized by Apple. That'll like allow folks to do a little bit more in terms of like allowing Salt, once it's like actually, you know, once the Python and like all the executables are signed, we can do some fun stuff with like MDM on that. We're really excited to work with the Item Darwin project, especially get some of the grains going, and then as things slowly move over with states and executions in there with some new like new modules. It's going to be pretty exciting. So pretty much it.
Awesome. SSH work group and testing work group, I did not get responses. And then Windows working group, Shane said that we'll probably be talking about pop grains. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Shane?
We really haven't met and made a plan for the next release.
All right. No worries.
There's a WinGet module that Microsoft is starting to support. It's kind of a package manager for Windows. I could foresee it replacing WinRepo. So I don't know. It's not fully featured yet. It won't be fully featured till next year, but might be good to get a little start on that.
Cool. All right, so that's it for the working groups. And throughout the the next several months, we'll do kind of working group highlights and have each of the work group captains talk a little bit more about their projects, maybe do a little show and tell, something like that. So we know what you're all working on, because we hear a lot about all these different groups, but people don't always know what the other groups are doing. Okay. And then next, I'm going to switch out the agenda order a little bit. So we have a new SEP that's out. It's SEP number 22. And I am pulling it up right now because I neglected to do that.
I do that all the time myself, and then it's like, oh yeah, that's right, I need to do this. And of course, that's the time that my internet invariably is much slower than normal.
All right, here it is. It's SEP 22, compartmentalized salt. Use pop grains V2 for grain collection. We just opened that recently, so just wanted to call everybody's attention to that SEP. If you'd like to take a few minutes and review it and talk about it now, go ahead. And if not, I'm sure we'll have conversations and a timeline and everything around that, because we want to make sure that people know when there's new SEP releases, what the timelines are, when SEPs are closing, and if they're being implemented. Anybody want to add anything about this particular SEP?
It'd be helpful for Tyler, I'm assuming he's here, to just give a high-level overview about what it is.
Yeah, I don't see Tyler.
I asked him to be here, but he may be getting pulled into something else. I can try to find him, but everything is in the SEP. I think that it's pretty well explained there if there's questions.
Yeah, I know he's been pretty responsive on feedback for the SEP, of which there's been much so far.
Yeah, I see. I mean, it's a really active set of comments and changes in conversation in there. He must have gotten pulled into something, because I'd mentioned he'd actually volunteered to be here for this meeting, so yeah.
I did see him at the beginning. He must have gotten pulled away. So.
Oh, it could be.
Yeah, we can make sure that he's available next week. And
yeah, exactly.
And that's out there. It's not going to close anytime soon, so just keep those there and keep it light today.
All right. Well, I think that's it for SEP updates. So the last thing we have is a community member. I don't know how to pronounce your username. Zormia? Zorima?
Yeah, that's me, if you hear me all right.
All right.
Yeah. So, I'm one of the maintainers over at Test Kitchen, which I see that Salt uses, and I'm basically doing a rally to see if anyone wants to come help maintain things who doesn't just work for Chef. I'm basically making sure that things continue to work for everyone. For reference, I'm quite big in the Chef community and heavy over there, so I'm also biased. But I just don't want to ever merge something in that would say break all of your tests. So maybe having some people from Salt to help view the project and make sure that we're not going to break everything for you, and various other things. So yeah, reach out to me in
Slack.
Sure,
we can come up with at least one or two people to. I guess what you're asking for is like reviewing PRs and stuff like that.
Reviewing PRs and just general sort of what people are proposing as features. So it doesn't even have to be too in-depth in the code. It's just about making sure the feature isn't remove everything that isn't Chef from all code.
Sure.
Those kinds of things.
Yep. I'm assuming that Pedro would be willing to help with that, and I would be willing to help with that too.
That's brilliant to hear. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I saw that you did create an issue about looking for help, and then it looks like we closed it, but I just thought it was really cool that you reached out and were like, hey, I need help with people contributing to my project. We'd like to have some SALT representation. That's what community is all about. It's about collaborating and helping each other with our various projects, and especially in open source, it's important to have, diversity of representation among the technologies and tools and communities. So thank you for that. And that wraps up our formal agenda. So what sorts of issues or questions does anybody have related to the sodium release?
Or next release cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess the one thing I wanted to bring up is, are we still following the like dot releases on like the major releases like this, or bug fixes and features are still slated for new major releases?
Yeah, that's right. You've got that right, Wes. We're so this next bug fix release, we're really focusing on things that are smaller, that are kind of focused on that Python 2 to Python 3, you know, really minor fixes that are ready to go in, and looking at that as just a true bug fix release. And then also like CVE releases are just the CVE, nothing else. And we'll continue that cycle. Great question.
Cool.
Yeah, and we will, as we're starting on this next release cycle, we'll have some dates that Cassandra will be publishing. We don't have those all quite ready to publish just yet, since we're just starting in this next release cycle, and we're at the very beginning. And so we're, which kind of overlaps just a little bit. So as we release and we go into the bug fix release, we actually start the next major planning cycle. And so I don't have a lot to share out that's real visual today, but that should be coming by probably next week. And that's exciting, and it's really neat that we have, you know, all the things that Cassandra's put in place in her position that we've put in place this year to make sure that we're getting that information out to you guys. And so we're looking also to have feedback about that too. Would love to have contributions. The community wiki is more static, but of course we could do more with it if people wanted to and have an interest there. The SEPs, we would love to see more SEPs come in from the community and ideas and feedback, and love to get more enhancements going there so we could see those ideas churn in, especially at this juncture in the beginning of the release cycle. We're interested to hear from the work groups in the community on what it is that they're most interested in, where their pain points are, and how we can help collaborate to fix those.
Yeah, and the community wiki, I do want to, one of my goals for this next release is to put some more organization and structure around it, make it easier to find things. I'm not entirely sure how that looks. I need to do some research on kind of best practices for organizing that type of wiki, but it's, before it gets too just kind of disorganized and chaotic, I feel like we need to put some structure around it, something that makes logical sense. So, and I mean, everybody's feedback, everybody's suggestions, comments, I do listen to all of those, I do take those, I share them with the internal team as needed. We actually have an internal channel called Community Requests, where a lot of the things that come up get cross-posted and people can answer or respond to questions. We can't obviously implement everything everybody asks for, but definitely kind of take that feedback. And as I start to see really, once several people start requesting something or wanting something, it starts to be something that, oh, it maybe makes sense to implement for the whole community. So definitely keep reaching out, tell me about all that stuff. And if you have a project that you're working on, you're looking for collaborators like Jason, also something we can help with. Okay, so we have 2 questions. Thinkable is asking in Twitch, how long will 2019.2 be supported, and are any further fixes going to be released for that version?
So currently for 2019.2, we're in CVE maintenance only.
And that ends September 30th, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And another question from Imran. He wants to know, besides Kitchen, Salt, what other links are there between Salt and Test Kitchen?
You also currently consume the Docker platform. I forget the word right now. Sorry, a bit on the spot.
We do have that configured, but it's not, I don't know how much it's actually being used.
For Salt Bootstrap, we use it.
We do, okay.
Yeah, I just saw it in your repo. You're definitely using Test Kitchen to reach out. And I've seen a few articles on your blogs and things over the years.
Yeah, so we're using Test Kitchen to run all of our tests, basically the official runs of our tests that happen. Yep.
Yeah, we use the Vagrant stuff on Mac OS,
We use EC2. Kitchen sink, kitchen WinRM stuff, I think.
Yeah. I'm also actively trying to get the exec driver fixed in Test Kitchen, which will unlock GitHub Actions with Kitchen. So if you've got an open source account and you don't want to pay for anything, Microsoft will pay for all your Windows testing for you.
Well, thank you for answering that. What other questions does anybody have about sodium, magnesium, community?
Silicone. Should we go down the list?
Yeah. Snails.
Snails.
Wait, what is after magnesium? Is it
aluminum?
Aluminum and then silicone. And then,
aluminum?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Aluminum. Yeah.
Yeah. Or aluminium if you're
aluminium.
Aluminum.
Yeah.
Aluminum. I can't even say it the way he says it.
There
That's
are people
beautiful.
on Insult that can speak English correctly. It's aluminium.
And then there's some people with Insult that are just a big arse. Me.
It's easy if you take it in stages. Aluminium.
Aluminum.
Now, there's room for both.
I'm just from America, so sorry.
I'm from the Midwest in America, so there you go. All right, and then Imran added an FYI that somebody's already managed to get Windows testing using Kitchen working via GitHub Actions and shared a link to that. So thank you for sharing
Thank you
that.
very much. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
One thing with the GitHub Actions, though, is we run golden images in AWS because we have specific requirements on what versions of things, and that might be harder to do with GitHub Actions because it's just whatever Windows they give you, right?
Yeah, it's they've listed out actually somewhere every single piece of software on the Windows, but it's essentially just a Windows machine, and there's nothing you can do to customize it unless you pre-customize it and bake it as part of the run.
What kind of feedback does everybody have on things that worked and didn't work from a community perspective this release? I'm going to assume that no news is good news. No. I know it's been a lot of try this, polish, refine, even little things like the what's happening at SaltStack posts or changing the order of notes, just all these little tweaks as we try things.
Yeah, something that just to mention here, maybe you mentioned it, Cassandra, and I just wasn't here, is the to do a code jam and to work on those ports to master. We are looking forward to that in this next release cycle, and we're excited to really do that this time. We're sad that we didn't get to do that last time, but we'll move forward and try again.
Yeah, I did mention that's going to be toward the end of July. We're in talks about running maybe a documentation jam alongside it, adding a couple little like keynotes. I actually have kind of a lightning talk topic that if we decide to do like a keynote or like a kickoff sort of thing that might come out of that. So we'll work out those details. And we have a question off Twitch. Clinkable says, I think I saw a couple of comments regarding old versions being archived, even after it was announced, but generally so far so good. Yes, we are still getting questions about old versions being archived. Somebody internally actually just asked me about that a few minutes ago and asked how and where it was announced. So it was announced in all of the places.
Just to reiterate, one of the comments that came up in the, I don't remember if it was the SEP or if it was an issue that was published. If you're running an older version that has not been patched for the recent CVEs, please upgrade right away.
Yes, you are vulnerable, and I think that we can't reiterate that enough. I saw this morning there was an exchange about that in the community Slack. Additional piece of feedback on that, mostly in trying to automatically determine the correct repo address for a given version requires configuration now. All right, well, if nobody has anything else to add, and I know every time I say that somebody has something, we can wrap up early. So last call for questions, comments, concerns, and jokes.
Thank you all for having me.
Yes, thank you for joining us. It's great to have somebody newer to the community. Welcome.
Yeah, just a big thanks to everyone that helped get some stuff into Sodium last minute that was desperately needed. Big thank you to everybody on the core team.
You're very welcome. We're working on being more responsive and helping out more, so.
And with that, is it Happy Thursday?
It is Thursday. I know time is weird in quarantine, but it is in fact Thursday, so enjoy the rest of your week.
Why do snails make good used car salesmen? Because they're a little slimy.
Oh! Hopefully there's no salespeople in this call.
Used car salesmen.
Yeah.
I really thought that was going to be something about escargot.
That's a different joke.
Ah, that's a dad joke right there. All right, well, thanks for joining me. I'll see y'all next week. And as always, if you have topics to suggest, drop them in Slack, DM me, put them on the topic request form, let them to the agenda. Bye.
Bye.